What's up, Dragon Brood? Wow, that was loud. Sorry if I blew somebody's ears out there. That was not my intention. I'm just really excited because we get to make a new Gruul deck. Y'all knew it was only going to be a matter of time before I threw some new Gruul build up, and people want to know, like, what's PowrDragn going to play for Gruul in the new standard? And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know. I have, like, seriously, probably 8 or 9 different builds. So we did see the Gruul Landfall deck, and if I remember, I'll try to put the link here. But as y'all know, we're putting out videos literally every day, multiple times a day, leading up to Zendikar release, so you will be getting a lot of deck lists. There may even be an additional Gruul deck list. But that being said, Gruul has a lot of tools and a lot of options, especially if you want to try to go creature heavy, go big. You know, do you want to ramp your mana? Do you want to play more flyers? Do you want more direct damage? Do you want to do the landfall thing? So this list, don't be upset if there's certain cards you want to see that aren't in it, because I probably have another list with those cards in it. But before we get into this list, as usual, I'm going to ask you to please like this video so we can get it in front of more people, that you please hit the subscription button so that I know you appreciate all these deck lists and the work that I'm putting in, and you hit the notification bell because that's for you, so you get notified every time I have one of these videos up, especially right now while we're loading up all this information leading up to the Zendikar Rising release. But for now, let's get this excitement underway and go look at a Gruul deck list. Alright, so it was a matter of where to start with this list. And I decided I'm not going to play any 1-mana creatures in this. I know it sounds a little crazy, but hear me out. My logic is I wasn't that excited by some of the 1-mana creatures that could fit in this style list. The only thing we could have potentially played that would have changed my mind on this list is Stonecoil Serpent, which there's an argument to be made that Stonecoil is still a viable card in this list over my first card choice here, Gruul Paragon. Feel free to put Stonecoil Serpent in this slot, because it's possible that by the time we get to actual release, I will have done the same. However, I do want to experiment with the card now before I just write it off. So anyway, we're playing 3 of these, and this is partly for 2 reasons. One, it is a quality 3-2 for 2, which is totally acceptable. It does count for the different party member types, but we don't really have that as a mechanic in here, so it's not a big deal. But the kicker does matter, because we do have another warrior we can go grab, so it does give you extra value late in the game if you're trying to recover from a sweeper or something. One of those warriors being Kargan Intimidator. So Kargan Intimidator is a 3-1 for 2, also fine, but it does give you bonuses for your other warrior in the deck, which happens to just be the 1, but hey, it does what it's supposed to do. It can make it hard to be blocked, it can pump itself, you know, and consider if any other cards in the deck are giving it a bonus, or you have an Embercleave or anything like that, then it does become a little bit more powerful on top of what it's already doing. Inscription of Abundance, we're playing 4 of these, and honestly, more and more, I'm beginning to think that if I'm playing a creature-based green deck, this is very much becoming one of my favorite cards. I mean, you can make creatures bigger, so it can be used as a combat trick. You can use it to fight something if there's something just too big in the way, or you need to, like, get something out of the way so you can get to a planeswalker or some such. And you just get to gain life, equal to the largest power on the table. So even against a red deck, if you're just hard up and you just need to gain 3 or 4 life to not die, that's amazing. And it's all at instant speed. So getting that and kicking it is only 5. We get to 5 mana pretty regular in our Gruul list, even the aggro ones. So it's very possible you're going to get multiple multiple choices off of this card, and it's going to work. Scavenging Ooze, we're playing 2. I wasn't even sure if I wanted a main deck, honestly, and I could be talked to these just moving to the sideboard and we just kind of ignore them entirely main. Even here saying, like, let's say we cut a 1 Paragon and 2 Scavenging Ooze to play 3 Stonecoil Serpents, I would be totally okay with that. I could easily be talked into that being a reasonable scenario. Kazandu Mammoth, this is the other card you're probably going to see in a lot of the green decks I put together. It is just a reasonable 3-3 for 3. It has Landfall that gives it +2/+2. And on the backside, it comes in tapped as a green mana source, so that allows you to skimp on lands and have more threats later in the game, which is absolutely what we want in an aggressive Gruul list. We are playing a full set of Garruk's Harbinger for 2 reasons. One, most of the big removal or important removal that's going to be played in the format is likely going to be spot removal in black, which makes it really hard to remove this. And it's one of the few ways we have to draw extra cards. So we kind of wanted to leave that in there just as an other thing for the opponent to have to deal with. which is a big deal because sometimes it draws attention away from other things, which can be played as a positive in the right situations. We also have Bone Crusher Giants. So I like Bone Crusher Giants, one of those cards I don't love because there are some matchups where it's very mediocre, but it is actual damage. And there's a lot of times if the 2 damage isn't that big a deal, just play it as a 4/3 and get after it. And if you're worried about playing against stuff like adventure decks, you know, with the Brazen Bars and the Clovers and whatever, them having to target this and take a couple of points of damage is not irrelevant. We've had that come up many times in the past. We're playing 2 Colony Ambush. Again, this is another way just to skimp on our mana, and it gives us an additional removal card at instant speed. So you can just have something fight, the backside comes into play tapped as a land. Totally reasonable for this type of deck. We are playing a full set of Leyline Tyrant, and this is probably the wrong choice, but yeah, we're gonna try it. I think the final list, honestly, I kind of just had these queued up here, but in all seriousness, I think the final list is probably going to cut one, and we'll find room for something smaller, because I think realistically that's where the deck needs to be. You probably don't need 4 of these. I mean, if you get one that sticks for more than 2 turns, you're probably going to be in a pretty good position. The one benefit it does have, though, is you can bank the mana from turn to turn, and that's pretty impressive when you may be trying to play like a creature and an Embercleave, or play like a Turn Timber Symbiosis and something. Like having that extra mana could be pretty good, so we'll play it out and see. We're playing currently 1 Garruk Unleashed. This may or may not change depending on Leyline Tyrants and whatnot, but it does work well with Garruk's Harbinger, giving you tramples, so you can get through and draw extra cards. It can give you a creature in a pinch, and if you do get to the ultimate, it's kind of nice too. So it's fitting for the deck. I'm not sure if it's necessary. Again, some of this is just going to come down to testing once we can actually play with these decks. A couple of Gem Razors just as a utility card. It can increase the power of some things if we have to, just get some extra damage in, and getting trample is never bad. Questing Beast, we're playing 4. I think this could also be trimmed back to 3, because there are times you don't want to draw multiple Questing Beasts. And with the power of the other cards in the deck, your opponents are probably already going to be using spot removal on other things, because everything is so substantial that it's possible, mind you, that we could do without the 4th copy of Questing Beast. So again, when you see the matter of fact, thinking about it now, this final version's probably going to be like minus a Paragon, minus 1 Leyline Tyrant, minus a Questing Beast, maybe not have Scavenging Ooze, and maybe an additional Planeswalker and some Stonecoil Serpents. It's probably what you're going to be seeing, but hey, we're going to continue on for now. Playing 1 Vivien Monster's Advocate. I'm trying to decide if I want to, realistically, do I want to go 2 Garruk, 1 Vivien, 2 Vivien, 1 Garruk? Do I want just 2 Garruks or just 2 Viviens? I haven't really figured it out yet, so I'm just kind of dabbling with both to see where it lands. Again, this is kind of what happens in the early stages when you're just testing cards and testing decks. So if this is a case of you wanting to build this and you're light on wild cards, just play the one you already have. Like, that's what I would say. If you don't have both of them, just play the one you already have. It's probably going to be acceptable either way. We're just talking about like pulling some levers and getting a little bit of margin here or there is really all we're doing at this point. Playing 3 Embercleaves because the card's just good and we're trying to end games. Not a lot to really say about the Embercleave there. And then we're playing a full set of Turn Timber Symbiosis because we do have so many green cards that having this come into play untapped is very good, and we can actually make use of the second part, which is kind of nice, to be able to actually look at the top 7, get a creature, put it into play. So overall, pretty good. I'm pretty mostly happy with this setup. Like I said, there's some numbers I'm going to adjust, so if you download the final version, it will look a little bit different, but I don't hate it. I'm pretty happy with this particular build of Gruul here. Lands, we're playing a full set of the Pathways because they are red on one side, green on the other. They come into play untapped. Can't really get away from that. It's just too good not to play it. Playing 3 copies of Fabled Passage, 2 Forests, 3 Mountains, and just a couple of Temple of Abundance. Trying to minimize the number of lands that come into play tapped because we already have the modal double face cards that come into play tapped. Also, you may look at this and say like, well, if you have so much green stuff, why are you playing more mountains than forests? Remember that a lot of our come into play tap lands are actually green and not red. So I want to make sure we have at least access to enough red sources So say we do get an early Kargan Intimidator or something, or we need to shoot something with a Bone Crusher Giant, we at least have reasonable options to acquire that red mana if necessary. The way we built the deck also is if you do draw one of these tapped lands, whether it's Temple Abandoned, Fable Passage, or even one of our modal double face cards, on turn 1, we can go ahead and play it because we don't have anything we're trying to race to the table on 1. So the lands kind of play into that decision as well. Yeah, so like I said, I'll probably be building some other Gruul lists as well. Maybe something based around warriors potentially, because I think that could be fun. You know, we may look and see what we have left as far as haste creatures and try that. There's just so many different ways to go. But I do think this one's very solid. I think you will win some games with this. It has a reasonable amount of removal. It's got some ways to protect its creatures fairly well. You've got some size along with some early game damage. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I don't think there's very much to complain about with this list in particular. And it is still going to be somewhat skill challenging in how you use some of those instant spells, how you apply those modal double face cards, and just use generally some of the new stuff we found in Zendikar Rising. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. I think it's pretty cool. It feels fun. It feels solid. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying the new cards out. And remember, like always, you will be able to get the deck list from the description down below. Jeez, I can't talk. Making too many videos here. Also, remember, if you haven't, to like this video to help us get in front of more people. Hit that subscribe button so I know that you appreciate what I'm doing, and then hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I have a video up, because we are putting up multiple videos a day with decks leading up to Zendikar Rising during the release, and I will be participating in the streamer early access next Wednesday thanks to Wizards of the Coast. So there's going to be a lot coming down the pipe and a lot happening here with Zendikar. But that is all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.